South Korean officials say they don't see any reason to believe Kim Jong Un is sick. Rumors have been circulating about the health of the North Korean leader. He hasn't been seen in public in over 2 weeks. Ian Lee is following the story from London.
Where is North Korean leader Kim Jong Un? That's the question many people are asking.
And my guess is there's probably something wrong with his health.
It may not be proof of life, but on Monday, North Korean state TV relayed a message from Kim thanking workers building a resort. Kim was a no-show at 2 recent events, adding to speculation that he had a botched surgery a few weeks ago. He's known to be obese and believed to be a heavy smoker and drinker. President Trump commented on the health rumors.
I think the report was incorrect. Let me just put it that way.
Recent satellite images appear to show Kim's train at his compound on the country's east coast, suggesting he could be there. But don't expect an immediate answer, says Professor Robert Kelly, a political analyst and expert on North Korea.
But I think if he was dead, I don't know if they would come forward and tell us yet. There'd probably be a sort of shuffling behind the scenes to figure out who's in charge.
A likely successor could be his younger sister, Kim Yo-jong.
The problem there is that North Korea is pretty reactionary, quite honestly, when it comes to gender norms. And so there's a lot of discussion about whether or not the old guard in North Korea would accept the ascension of a female.
Another big question, if Kim does pass away, what does that mean for the country's nuclear weapons? Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
And for more on this, let's bring in former CIA officer and author Jung H. Her new book is called Becoming Kim Jong Un, a former CIA officer's insights into North Korea's enigmatic young dictator. It releases tomorrow. Welcome, Jung. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your book. It was a fascinating read. You have been at the forefront of shaping U.S. policy on North Korea and providing strategic assessments for leadership at the highest levels of the government. So what do you make of Kim Jong-un's recent absence, and how do you believe this is being received in Washington behind closed doors?
Hi, thanks, Tanya. Thanks for those kind words about the book. The bottom line is we don't know if he's alive or dead, and we probably won't know, and we'll be living in a period of uncertainty until the regime actually comes out and says, releases a statement, or Kim just shows up. So I don't think we should jump to any conclusions, but if I were still in the government, and I'm almost certain that my former colleagues are doing this now, is that looking at what ifs. So who would be next? Who would be succeeding Kim Jong Un in the event that he's dead or incapacitated? And they're likely talking about various scenarios and trying to talk with our counterparts in the region to make sure that we're coordinated on a response in the event that we do find out that Kim is not alive.
And what would a likely succession scenario look like? So
if we assume that there is a succession process, I think judging from what we saw in the past 2 situations, it's going to be different. Last time when Kim Jong Un took over from his father, he had a very compressed grooming period of just a handful of years, if that. But when Kim Jong-il took over for his father, Kim Il-sung, in 1980, he had many years, decades-long years of tutelage under his father. But if Kim Jong-un were to retire now, this would be obviously a much more contentious, perhaps conflict-ridden succession, given the fact that he does have children, but they're too young to rule. So the eyes are going toward his sister, his full sister, Kim Yo-jong, who has been rising in power and in publicity in the past few days and years.
Very, very interesting. Now, as you've pointed out before, this is not the first time the North Korean leader has gone on a public hiatus. In 2008, or his father, for that matter, because in 2008, Kim Jong-il disappeared, only for the world to learn he had suffered a stroke. Kim Jong-un was also out of the public eye for about a month in 2014, then resurfaced with a cane. So in those cases, though, North Korea was quick to release statements. What do you make of the fact that Pyongyang has been relatively quiet this time around?
I don't think that what North Korea regime is doing is inconsistent what they've been doing. They generally don't react to our speculation about how the leader is doing. And we didn't know that Kim Jong Il died until a couple of days later when the regime decided to tell us. So I think that that'll be the case this time around. But under Kim Jong Un, he's been much more transparent in the way that, for example, when he had the ankle surgery, he showed up with a cane, limping, and that was different because his father didn't like to show weakness in that way. But I think bottom line is, Tanya, I'm afraid that we're not going to know for certain, and we're going to be digging for clues as we move forward.
And I want to dive into your book a bit because, you know, you allocate a good portion of it on the years leading up to Kim Jong Un's rise and how he was essentially groomed to become supreme leader. And you also note that Kim was intent on creating his own base of support rather than relying on his father's loyalists, you know, in some extreme ways when he first, you know, took power. So if North Korea does see a leadership change in the near future, you know, will that person, whoever it is, we discussed the possibility perhaps it is his sister, will that person be able to galvanize the same support, or will there be a lot of, you know, shuffling behind the scenes? You know, we saw how Kim Jong Un shaved down the Gang of Seven, right, to consolidate his power. Will we see something similar like that have to happen?
I think that, yeah, you know, given that Kim is a rational leader and a rational actor, and given his own experience with succession, I would be surprised if he didn't have thoughts about succession and what might come after him. And I would say that Kim wanted to make sure that the people around him were loyal to him. As you mentioned, the people who had surrounded the hearse at Kim Jong-il's funeral, these were party loyalists and close to his father. But what he showed as soon as he came into power was that he was willing to lop off the highest levels of government to make sure that he was that everybody knew that he was in charge. And these constant purges of hundreds of senior officials is a reminder to everyone that Kim Jong-un has their lives in his hands. That keeps the elite very on their toes, afraid to raise their hands or to stick their heads up, and especially in a situation like this. And so I don't anticipate a lot of I don't anticipate upheaval in the way that you might see an immediate collapse of the regime, but that there's going to be some element of ambiguity and unpredictability as the elite try to keep their heads down, see what's going to happen, and how the dust settles.
So it's interesting also how you characterize Kim Jong-un in the book and say how, you know, he's sort of this paradoxical figure in the West, where on the one hand, we see him as almost cartoonish, but on the other hand, as sort of this towering, dangerous giant. And we just don't really know who is the real Kim Jong-un. Is he a true threat? Is he unstable? Is he, you know, childlike? Does the West, rather, the United States, do we risk underestimating him at this crucial juncture in sort of U.S.-North Korean relations?
Tanya, I think you get to the heart of the book. And if you look at the title, I wanted to make sure that people understood, that your readers understood that I'm providing a fuller picture of Kim. And as you mentioned, given the intense media attention, he's either a caricature, this flat personality, or he's all about missiles, or he's all about gulags. But I wanted to provide this fuller picture to show readers how this is a complete individual, and that he's not just about missiles, he's not just about gulags, but that he has a personality and preferences and priorities, and that to understand where he's going, we have to understand where he's coming from, as well as his perception, so that we can provide a framework for how to move forward on North Korea policy.
Well, Jung H. Pak, thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us your expertise on this fascinating and crucial subject at the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.